Hey, what's up guys? Joker here. Today we have got a couple of gaming news stories to cover. The first is concerning Anthem, which we now know why the game was such a failure, and it might surprise you to learn that it was actually mostly BioWare's fault and not EA, which is certainly a plot twist that I did not see coming. And also, Borderlands 3 got its official announcement trailer, and it's actually going to be on the Epic Games Store exclusively for a period of time, so we're going to get fired into all of that. But first, today's video is brought to you by LevelGo.com, where you could save money on games for all of your favorite platforms, as well as software like Windows 10 Pro for under $16, Microsoft Office 2016 for $40, and Microsoft Office 2019 Professional Plus for under $80. And if you use my code PTL20 at checkout, you'll get 20% off of Windows 10 Pro, or you can use the code PTL15 to get 15% off of the entire website when you use the links down in the description below. Now first I want to talk about Anthem. As you guys know, this game came out last month and it was a complete train wreck right from the start, really. Even though it had some stunning graphics and the flying mechanics and the combat were all generally good, the bottom line is when you have a looter shooter and the loot sucks, the game is going to suck. And then on top of that, issues with the loading screens and the really boring and repetitive hot and cold missions. There's just been so many issues with Anthem, from the beginning. And now it's all starting to make sense, as Kotaku, which I'm not the biggest fan of Kotaku, but Jason Schreier has actually done a really good write-up over there, and it is quite lengthy. Like, if you look at this thing, it is long. Like, I read through this whole thing. It took me close to an hour to read this entire article from top to bottom, and I got some decent information out of that. If you want to read the whole thing, I'll have it linked down below. Also, I saw Angry Joe uploaded a video on this, which I haven't watched yet, but it was like a 45-minute video. I guess basically breaking down this whole thing. So if you haven't watched Angry Joe's video, that might be worth checking out as well if you don't feel like reading this. But yeah, basically everything is pointing to the fact that this game was troubled from the start with BioWare, who actually began pre-production on it all the way back in 2012. So they had about 7 years to get this game ready for release. However, they spent like the first 5.5 to 6 years just in the pre-production and planning phases without actually delivering any sort of real gameplay. And one of the earliest demos that the then CEO of Electronic Arts had tried, he didn't even like the game, and it went through so many different changes and iterations during the very short period of time that they had to actually develop this game, because the actual development period was only about 12 to 16 months. And all of the time leading up to that, before that, was just pre-production and planning and just trying to really conceptualize what this game was. And even BioWare didn't know what it was going to be until basically like the E3 announcement trailer. It wasn't really planned to be a looter shooter. They sometimes, at one point, it wasn't going to have flying, and they added flying back in, took it away and put it back in, which meant they had to change level design repeatedly. So there was just so many issues plaguing this game, and it just really breeds of mismanagement from BioWare, from pretty much the top to the bottom. And this is not like their B team or anything. This is the main team, the team that we know from, previous Mass Effect games and Dragon Age games, some of the really good titles that BioWare has put out over the years. But Anthem is just dog shit, and I don't think it's going to get any better. This game has had some serious fanboys behind it since it came out, despite everyone saying how horrible it was. They're like, oh, just wait, it's going to get better, blah, blah, blah. I don't really see that being the case. If I was EA right now, I would try to completely ditch this game and distance myself from it as far away as possible. And honestly, with this, on the back of Mass Effect Andromeda and everything, I really don't know how BioWare is ever going to recover, from Anthem and the bad taste that it's put in gamers' mouths with also Mass Effect 3, which I actually really liked. I loved Mass Effect 3, at least 98% of it. I didn't like the ending. I don't think anyone really liked the ending that was in that game. Didn't really account for your decisions and everything like that made through the other titles. But most of the way through it, I loved Mass Effect 3, right up until like those last 10 to 15 minutes of it. So I can't really fault a game just for that one little bit. I still had a great time, put probably close to 60 to 100 hours into Mass Effect 3, and I loved it. Anthem, not so much, just really boring environments and just pointless loot. And yeah, it just kind of is all starting to make sense now. So as I said, I'll link to this down below if you want to check out the full article. Next up, Borderlands 3 got its official announcement trailer, even though it had a teaser like last week, which I guess wasn't that really an announcement that Borderlands 3 was coming out. This is just the full trailer and not the teaser, even though this is shorter than the teaser. I don't know I don't know how they come up with these names and things. But basically, we got a little more information here confirming that it's going to be coming out on September 13th, which we saw in some leaks over the past couple of days, which I covered on the channel. And if you saw yesterday's video, we also talked about that leak that said it was actually going to be an Epic Store exclusive. And now we have confirmation of that fact that it will be exclusive to the Epic Store on the PC, which even Randy Pitchford said yesterday he thinks this would be a good idea. He said he welcomed it, maybe on like a 6-month period, which is exactly what it ended up being. So this is going to be a timed exclusive for 6 months, and it won't hit Steam until April of 2020. So if you are waiting to play Borderlands 3, you might have to wait until 2020 if you don't want to pick it up on the Epic Games Store, which honestly I couldn't blame you if that was the case. But all in all, the game looks incredible. It looks like it's really just expanding on what we saw in Borderlands 1 and 2 with probably an even bigger world. The environments seem a lot more detailed, possibly more guns. Hopefully it's not riddled with microtransactions, and I will play and test the game when it comes out on the Epic Games Store begrudgingly because I really, really despise that interface. I guess really the only good thing is the fact that this is 6 months out from launching on the Epic Games Store. So hopefully by then, Epic can kind of get their shit in order and make the Epic Games Store a legitimate storefront that has, you know, basic functionality. And there's also one more bit of news to come out of this. Randy Pitchford had also said that he wanted to see on the Epic Games Store so that we can get cross-platform play, even though Steam can already support cross-platform play on games like Rocket League. You can play Rocket League cross-platform, no issues with the PC and PS4 players. So that whole excuse is kind of bullshit, honestly. But it does look like cross-platform will be supported on this game, at least between the PC and the Xbox One and Xbox One X. We don't know yet about the PlayStation. Traditionally, the PlayStation's been a little bit stricter when it comes to cross-platform play and not really wanting to support it openly as much as Microsoft does. But over on the Microsoft Store right now, if you look at the capabilities, it does list cross-platform co-op play as being supported. And it doesn't say that this is going to be sold on here for the PC. It just is. This is basically the store page for the Xbox One, and it just says that it's going to have cross-platform co-op. So that's a good thing. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on Borderlands 3 becoming an Epic Games Store exclusive officially, at least for 6 months. Will you wait until 2020 to play it? And also, what do you think about the reasons behind why Anthem was such a failure, and surprisingly that Bioware was kind of the main culprit of it? I mean, can you really blame EA for, you know, after they had 5-6 years just to come up with the concept of the game, to force them to push the game out early? I mean, I really feel like you can't blame EA at that point. It kind of falls on Bioware. If you gave me 7 years to produce a project and then I wasn't ready after 7 years, you'd probably be pissed. I'd probably get fired. People would get fired. People did leave the company because of this stuff. Yeah, and this is what kind of led to this article coming out, was ex-staffers and things coming forward. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. Please leave your thoughts, as always, down in the comments below and continue the discussion forward. If you enjoyed this video, stick a thumbs up on it and subscribe if you're not already. And I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Ta-ra.